Nursing was my calling, and I dedicated over 14 years of my life to it, and then I quit. Hi, my name's Jeff, and I want to tell you a little bit about what it was like to work as an LPN and then why I quit. And I know that many of you are facing the same challenges that I did working in long-term care. And some of the reasons why I had to walk away is one, we were always understaffed and overworked. It was just the fact. Every day I was focused more on filling a shift than I was making sure that our residents were being taken care of. And that just was really hard, and it just got old after 14 years. And I know that's a common thread throughout a lot of healthcare is nurses are they're just working a ton, and there's more and more responsibility being put on nurses. We do a lot more now than we did even a decade ago. And working as an LPN, I felt like I really experienced that. Another reason why I left is low pay. Nurses are, especially LPNs, let me preface this, LPNs are not paid that well compared to RNs, which I realize there's a lot more schooling with RNs, but the amount of work that you do as an LPN, especially as a floor nurse or a charge nurse in a long-term care facility, like a skilled nursing facility, you are doing so much. It doesn't matter what shift you are, day shift, evening shift, night shift, you're doing a ton. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not. The amount of work that you are doing in that time frame is substantial. And if you're not getting a break and you're picking up shifts and you're working every weekend, like that adds up. And I felt that for me, it was just too much. And you, as a nurse, you're managing a lot. You're managing your hall, your floor, whatever it is. The CNAs that work with you, the nurse aides, they are, you have to coach them in how you want your floor to be run. And you've got your med pass, you have physician's orders, you have assessments, you have all the documentation. I know I'm missing a lot of the things that we do, but there's so much. And when you have to balance all of that with your personal life and being at home, it's emotionally really tough. And the other thing is, no matter where you're at in long-term care, inevitably you're going to face death. And that was really hard. I can't tell you how many times I would leave my shift after I was done working and just be drained, and I would cry because I just lost this resident that I'd worked with for years. And I know that that's a really common thread and common experience throughout nursing, whether you're an aide or a nurse or whatever. There's going to be residents that you work with for a really long time that pass away. And as a nurse, you have to manage that whole situation. You're collaborating with hospice, maybe. You're making sure they're comfortable. You're dealing with family, and that's a whole nother thing. Sometimes family's great, and sometimes family haven't come around the whole time you've been working with this resident, and now they're there, and you have to figure out that dynamic. It's really tough. And then you also have the rest of your residents that you're taking care of. So it's not like you can just stop everything and focus on this end of life situation. You have to make sure that the rest of your residents are taken care of. So, LPNs, nurses, we have an incredible capacity to manage our time, to prioritize. It's pretty incredible. The other thing that, really wore on me were like the big picture systemic issues with long-term care. And I'm talking primarily about how insurance drives every little thing that you do in that field. Like whether it's therapy or Medicaid, all that determines how long your therapy goes, whether you have a roommate or not, your medications, everything. And it's really hard to provide care that meets the standard of care you want to provide if you have this gatekeeper that you have to go to every time you need something for this resident. It doesn't matter if it's the best thing for them or not. It's all money driven. And if it's not making this insurance company a profit, or there's some, Department of Health regulation or government regulation, you have to weave your way through those to get the thing that you want. I can't tell you how many times I was on the phone to get pre-approval, prior authorization for a drug that was like, why can't they just give this to me? Or getting equipment approved. it's just this whole thing. And you have to document a certain way. You have to do all these things a certain way so that your company's reimbursed, the facility's reimbursed. It's just tough. It's a lot. And I don't think people realize how difficult it is until you're in that world. So all of that combined helped me come to the realization gradually it was time for me to make a change. And so the first thing that I did was I recognized that I needed to prioritize myself, which is hard for nurses to do because we're used to prioritizing everybody else, not taking breaks, you're skipping your lunch, you're making sure everybody else is good and you don't take care of yourself. And that was translating into my own life, is I wasn't able to take care of myself. So I had to stop and say, how is this sustainable? Am I eating well? Am I exercising? Am I getting enough sleep? And I wasn't. And mentally and emotionally, I was at a pretty low. And I allowed myself to say, and I learned to say, Jeff, it doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to feel this way. You don't have to be stressed out. You don't have to experience trauma every time your phone rings or you get a text message. Now I'm in a new season of life. I left my nursing career. I had an opportunity to jump in an executive director role at a nonprofit that serves youth in downtown Phoenix. And I feel like I'm back to myself again. I'm using a lot of the skills that I acquired, and if a crisis comes, I know how to handle it because we handled crises every single day as a nurse. And so I feel like I'm back to being myself again and using what I feel like I'm gifted at in my career with balance. I have balance at home, my family. I'm able to spend way more time with them. I'm present with them instead of just like checking my phone every few seconds. But it's been a shift, and I was scared and uncertain when I decided to make this switch, because even though there's all these crazy things and difficult things with nursing that, I didn't want it to continue to be that way, that's what I knew. And now I have a new normal, and I've been able to work through those uncertainties and those fears. And I can honestly say that I am so proud of my nursing career, and I'm also proud of where I'm at now, even if it meant leaving that nursing career. So if you're an LPN working in long-term care, drop a line in the comments. Tell me how you're doing. I want to hear, how are you doing in this, post-COVID time as a nurse? Are you doing better? Are you still short-staffed? Are you still struggling? I know, talking to my nurse friends, it's kind of the same. And so if you're in nursing, you're amazing. Stay with it if you're able to. But if not, don't be afraid to make that change. Don't be afraid to jump out and do what you need to do for your family and yourself. You're not going to regret it. All right, hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and we'll see you next time.